Hi, hello, how are you? This is Christy and welcome back to my channel. First off, I want to say thank you all so much. We finally made it to 1,000 subscribers, which means I owe you a live. I am hoping to do that maybe sometime this weekend. And for all the Steve fans, I'm going to try to have Steve make an appearance for you on camera. So yeah, that'll be fun. Today I have a case for you that is, well, it's a mystery. It is definitely a mystery. It is strange. It's bizarre. And there's some red flags. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's kind of starting to make the rounds. It's Debbie Collier out of Athens, Georgia. She went missing and then was later found deceased about an hour away from her home. The details of how this all happened it's crazy. It's crazy. I spent last night digging into the case, and the more I dug, the more I was just, things don't add up. They do not add up. And I've told you before, my husband's not the biggest true crime fan, but I do force him to put up with me throwing things at him sometimes. Not literal things, but, you know, my theories. And I paused what we were watching last night because I couldn't wait until it was over to tell him the story. And immediately he had an idea of who he thought did it. I'm not going to say that here just yet, but I mean, it was so fast. It was so fast. And I think you guys are going to draw conclusions too as we go through the story. I have the police report that we're going to go over. Thank you to the docket. As always, on Twitter, go follow the docket if you like all things police reports, and otherwise, if you need a document, that's where to go. They're great. And I got the incident report from them, and we will go over it. Trigger warning, it's disturbing. It is disturbing. And I'm just so anxious to see what you guys think about this case and see if we're kind of on the same page. I don't really know if I'm kind of on two pages, I guess, at this point. So let's dive in, shall we? Okay, so this picture next to me, this is Debbie Collier. She's 59 years old. She worked for years as the front office manager for Carriage House Realty in Athens, Georgia. She was married to Stephen Collier, a picture of them here, since 2013. And she has a grown daughter who I believe is in her 30s, and her name is Amanda Bearden. They lived in Athens, Georgia. So Debbie's husband, Steve, said that he last saw his wife on September 9th at around 9 p.m. as he was going to bed. So apparently they slept in separate bedrooms because Stephen snores really loud. My husband snores really loud as well, but we sleep in the same room. But maybe Debbie's a light sleeper and it bothered her. But when I saw the picture of what I'm guessing is their house, it's being shown as their house, it looks very small to me. Maybe he was upstairs and she was downstairs. I don't know, but I feel like in a house that is this compact, probably if he snored that loud, she probably could still hear him. But he said that he saw her last on September 9th before he went to bed at 9 o'clock in his separate bedroom. And when he left for work the next morning on the 10th, he said that he saw Debbie's car. He didn't say that he saw her, so I guess he assumed she was still sleeping in her bedroom, but he said that he saw her car. That same day, September 10th, her daughter, Amanda, she received a money transfer from her mom on Venmo at 3:17 p.m. It was for $2,385. Now, as if that's not weird enough, check out the message that came along with the money. They are not going to let me go. Love you. There is a key to the house in the blue flower pot by the door. Now, apparently, Debbie and Steve shared this Venmo account, because you see it says Steve Collier paid Amanda Bearden, but she says this was from her mother. When I read the message that went along with it, I immediately thought, is this some kind of code? Because in our family, and I'm obviously not going to say the words here because it's our code, but there are certain things that if we say it, we know what it means. I'm sure you're following where I'm going with this, but the key to the house in the blue flower pot by the door, I kept thinking, is this some kind of code? I mean, to the point that I was sitting there trying to look at it, do the first letter spell anything out, things like that. I mean, I was really trying to break it down, but I can't really come up with what it would mean unless that particular phrase meant something in their family. But Amanda has not come out and said that it meant anything significant, so I guess it's just a message, but it just throws me off. They are not going to let me go. Love you. And then you add in, there's a key to the house in the blue flower pot by the door. I don't know. It's just very strange. It's very strange to me. Maybe it's that to you, but to me, I was like, okay, there's a red flag. So Amanda Bearden told the police that the message scared her. She tried calling her mom, but her calls went to voicemail. The police tried calling Debbie, but their calls also went straight to voicemail. Investigators found that Debbie left her home in Athens on September 10th with only her driver's license and her debit card. She was driving a rented black Chrysler Pacifica because her car had been damaged in a wreck and it was in the shop. Police used the Sirius XM radio in the vehicle to locate it. It was found 60 miles away from the Collier's home one day after she disappeared. And I have a map here that kind of shows us the locations where she started at her house and then where the car was found. And her body was then found several yards, maybe a quarter mile from where they found the vehicle. This is where they found her car. Let's see. Athens police informed the Habersham County Sheriff's Office, and deputies discovered the vehicle and used canines to locate her body in a ravine nearby, out of sight from the highway. Law enforcement says while little is known about her disappearance, they are treating her death as a homicide. Debbie was found nude and severely burned. Investigators found her on her back, grasping a small tree with her right hand. Her remains were apparently burned with what appeared to be charring to her abdomen. The report noted that remnants of a partially burned blue tarp and a red tote bag were found nearby. Other items of evidence were recovered from the scene, but what those items are has not been specified. The report indicated that officers who found her were immediately able to identify her as Debbie Collier. The report states that her daughter Amanda grew hysterical at the crime scene. She told investigators that her mom had no mental health issues and that her mom had a bad back and would not have voluntarily ventured into the wooded area where she was found. Amanda told police it was unusual for her mom to set off on a long trip without notifying her family. So I have a video. It was done by the Daily Mail, and they went and they walked from where the car was found into the wooded area to the ravine where her body was found. And you can see the type of terrain, and you can tell they're in the right place because you will see bits of crime scene tape. You will see the discarded blue gloves that the crime scene investigators wore, and you will see the uprooted tree and things like that that are mentioned in the report. Now, while we're watching this clip, I want you to think about, she had a bad back. If you've ever had a backache, and one where it hurts to walk, like your lower back, especially if it really hurts to walk, try to envision yourself walking this path with a bad back. Now, I speeded it up to double speed because it was about 8 minutes long. So I speeded it up so it is going faster than what they were actually walking. But we're going to go ahead and look at it. And like I said, just try to envision yourself walking through there while your back is killing you. And if you notice, you can hear the cars on the highway. See, to me, this part's not necessarily horrible. Probably just because where I live and I walk on my property and it's kind of like this, like where the trees are at. But trust me, when I'm in pain, sometimes that uneven terrain is not your friend. And there's some of the crime scene tape. And it's quite a distance to think about walking on that terrain as well. And from the way her daughter talked, she couldn't really walk very far with her back hurting. And that's where she was found, that highlighted area. And you can see the discarded gloves, the uprooted tree there. I believe that was the site of the fire that is discussed in the report. That small tree there, I can only imagine, could be the one that she was holding with her right hand. But imagine, had they not been able to track the vehicle with the satellite radio where this is, it probably would have been a while before she was discovered. Now they're walking back. Like I said, though, I just imagine walking through here and you're having to step over these broken limbs and branches and the uneven terrain, and especially if you've got somebody that's, forcing you back there, they're probably not wanting you to walk slow when you want to walk slow, and I don't know. It's very sad. It's very sad to think about. But I wanted you to be able to kind of visualize where this all took place. Now, it's not known if she was killed there at the site or if it happened before she was taken there and burned. There are signs that is where she was burned at, but I don't know if that's where she actually passed. Okay, so let's see here. Habersham County Sheriff's Office revealed on Wednesday that investigators have found no evidence of either suicide or a kidnapping. Detectives have served several search warrants and are looking to identify persons of interest. A cause and manner of death have not been released. Then there's this. So, a neighbor of the Colliers said that there was a commotion the night before Debbie disappeared. She claimed she often heard noises coming from the Colliers' property. She also said there was loud screaming and fighting at the home. And then I found this that actually goes a little more into it. The neighbor added, somebody comes up to visit on the weekends and in the evenings, and there's loud screaming and fighting. She said the visitor was a younger woman. So keep that in mind for a little bit later. Another neighbor said that Stephen and Debbie were reclusive. He said when we would get together out here on the block for a cookout, they never participated. Last night's updates revealed that investigators executed search warrants at locations tied to the victim, and interviews have been conducted with those closest to her, which is standard procedure. Fox News reported that in December of 2020, Debbie posted a series of photos on her Facebook, and again, just like the Venmo, she shares the Facebook with her husband. She posted a series of selfies after she said she face planted on a sidewalk. The post said, "Look what I did to myself when I face planted on the concrete sidewalk." Her Facebook account is a joint account that she shares with her husband. It is Debbie Steve Collier. The images show scrapes and bruising around her right eye and forehead. Athens Clark County Police Department has no record of any domestic calls involving Debbie, her husband, or their address. All right, so a review of her daughter's Venmo found that beginning in early August, Amanda received several transfers from Steve Collier. Now remember, Debbie and Steve allegedly share this account. It appears as though Debbie and Steve shared the account, and on August 2nd, the first payment included the note to Amanda Bearden from Debbie Collier. Which, again, it strikes me odd, but maybe not. I would have said, to whichever child from mom, but whatever. Amanda's boyfriend says family members have had their phones confiscated by police and feel like they're being looked at as suspects. The boyfriend said that he and Amanda moved to Athens from Maryland just 2 days before Debbie vanished. So a few things here. And he also said that they've just been staying home watching movies. As far as being treated like suspects and having their phones confiscated, as I said just a few minutes ago, that is pretty standard procedure in any investigation like this. You always start with those closest to the victim and work your way out. So I can understand feeling like a suspect, but at the same time, it's kind of expected, right? You want to be cleared so they can move on and find out who really did this. I have always said if something happened in my family, I would just be handing stuff over. Here's my computer, here's my phone. What else do you need? Come in my house, take whatever you need. Because I would want to be cleared so they could quit focusing on me and get out there and find out who did what to my person. But they're feeling like suspects right now. Like I said, it's understandable, but at the same time, it shouldn't be unexpected. They have to start there and clear you and work their way out. Also, he and Amanda just moved to the area from Maryland 2 days before the disappearance. So if we go back to the statement from the neighbor that heard the commotion, they mentioned somebody comes up to visit on the weekends and in the evenings, and there's loud screaming and fighting, saying the visitor was a younger woman. Immediately, I wondered, could this have been her daughter, Amanda? Could she have been the one that was coming up on the weekends? And, I mean, it's a younger woman. It would fit, right? So, that was my question, is could this visitor have been her daughter? And if they were fighting, what about? And could that have led to something else? All speculation, just throwing things out there right now because we don't know. Amanda told CBS 46, my mom was my everything. Somebody took my whole world from me. She was a kind, beautiful, giving woman, and she didn't deserve any of this. I want justice for my mom. Debbie showed no hint of any personal problems or worries while at work, the staff at her real estate office said. Debbie had been there for 7 or 8 years. So, another twist in the story is police had actually spotted Debbie's rental car. That's Shiloh. Unlocked and unoccupied beside the old logging road where she was found at 5 p.m. the previous day. According to the police report, unoccupied cars are routinely spotted at that location. That was an hour before Debbie's husband reported her missing in a call to Athens Clark County Police. The following day, the car was located in connection with Debbie's disappearance at 12:28 p.m. Debbie Collier's body has been taken to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation Crime Lab for an autopsy, but no report of results have been released. So that brings us up to date. Sorry. As of right now, which is 11:21 a.m. on Friday. Hold on. I apologize. I am so sorry. I let them out. Maybe they'll be quiet now. Okay. Like I said, this brings us up to date as of right now. So let's take a look at this police report. Like I said, trigger warning, it is disturbing. It's a bit graphic. Okay. So here we have the first page. Basically, this just is person down the highway. It says Georgia 15 northbound prior to Victory Home Lane, Clarksville, Georgia 30623. Incident date 9/11/2022 at 12:20, and it continued until the 11th at 2000 hours. Victim's name is Deborah Todd Collier, white female, 59 years old, date of birth 1963. Goes on to describe the vehicle. The interesting part that I wanted to show you on this report is it asks if it was drug related, and it's marked yes. And when it asks what type of drug, it says unknown. Nothing has really been said about this in any of the reports. So I looked into the area, and people say it's known for drug use, meth especially, drug trafficking, selling, buying, etc. Now, people have been speculating online that Debbie, with her back problem, could have had maybe some sort of pain pills. Maybe she was addicted, or maybe her daughter was trying to get her mother's medicine. It has been speculated maybe Debbie was there to pay a debt on her behalf, or maybe her daughter's or her daughter's boyfriend, and just all kinds of different things. And it will be interesting to see why it says it's drug related. Those are all plausible theories at this point. Everything's still on the table because we don't really know much about it. But if she was there to pay this debt, I apologize for these dogs. Why did she send that large Venmo payment to her daughter? Was it so she could take care of it herself? Hold on. I'm sorry. It's Friday. Everybody's crazy today. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that they say it's drug related. It's unknown what type of drug. So it will be interesting to follow along and see where that leads. The next page says, on Sunday, September 11th, 2022, at approximately 12:28 hours, Sergeant Ethan Neal was notified by Habersham 911 dispatch that a caller from Sirius XM service had been pinging a vehicle per the request of Athens Clarke County Police Department in reference to attempting to locate a missing person. The caller from Sirius XM advised dispatch that they had been attempting to locate the vehicle and believed it to have stopped or pulled over in the area of Georgia 15 northbound, in the area of Victory Home Lane, Clarksville, Georgia 30523. The vehicle was identified as a 2022 Chrysler Pacifica, black in color, bearing Georgia tag number CMQ 9309. The missing person was identified as Deborah Todd Collier, date of birth 9/02/1963. Sergeant Neal requested Officer Dakota Foster, Tallulah Falls PD, to be en route to the area to attempt to make contact. A short time later, Sergeant Neal was notified by Foster that he had located the vehicle. Sergeant Neal responded to the scene. While en route, Sergeant Neal contacted the Athens Clarke County Police Department and spoke with Sergeant Johnson. Johnson advised Sergeant Neal the circumstances of the missing persons incident and informed him that they had been attempting to ping Collier's cell phone throughout the night. Johnson also advised Sergeant Neal that he had last communication from Collier was to her daughter. He advised that Collier had used Venmo to send approximately $2,300 to her daughter, with a message that stated something to the effect of, "They won't let me go. There's a key to the house underneath a flower pot." Upon Sergeant Neal's arrival, he observed the vehicle parked in what appeared to be a pull-off that leads to an old logging road directly off Georgia 15 northbound prior to Victory Home Lane. Sergeant Neal was notified by Foster that he had observed this vehicle in the same spot at approximately 1700 hours on 9/10/2022, but informed Sergeant Neal that vehicles routinely pull into this area. Foster also advised Sergeant Neal that the vehicle was unlocked and was unoccupied. Foster also stated that he had walked into the woodline a short distance to see if he could immediately locate Collier, but was unable to do so. Sergeant Neal requested Lee Arundel Correctional Institute K-9, Lacey K-9, to be en route to the scene. Sergeant Neal also requested Georgia State Patrol Aviation, GSP Aviation, to be en route. A short time later, dispatch informed Sergeant Neal that Lacey was unable to respond due to the unavailability of a K-9 and was advised that GSP Aviation would be en route. Sergeant Neal requested Deputy Blake Forrester to be en route to attempt to locate Collier. While on scene awaiting the arrival of Forrester, Collier's daughter, Amanda Bearden, arrived on scene in a hysterical state. Bearden began screaming that the vehicle belonged to her mother. Bearden was notified by Athens-Clarke County PD that the vehicle was being pinged by SiriusXM and provided her with the approximate location of the latest ping. Sergeant Neal and Foster spoke briefly with Bearden, asking general questions in reference to Collier's mental health state and briefly about her medical history. Bearden advised Sergeant Neal and Foster that her mother did not have any history of mental health issues and denied any suicidal tendencies. She also stated that her mother had a bad back and couldn't have walked far. While speaking with Bearden, Forrester arrived on scene. Sergeant Neal briefed Forrester on the incident and requested that he deploy his K-9 to attempt to locate Collier. Forrester deployed his K-9 and began searching for Collier, accompanied by Sergeant Neal and Foster. During the track, Sergeant Neal allowed Forrester to stay approximately 25 to 30 feet ahead of him while he and Foster scanned the woods for any sign of Collier. As Forrester proceeded southeast through the woods, Forrester called out to Sergeant Neal that he had located an item. Sergeant Neal and Foster quickly approached. Sergeant Neal observed a red tote bag laid on its side near an uprooted tree. At the root ball of the tree, Sergeant Neal observed what appeared to be the remains of a fire. As Sergeant Neal approached the fire, he looked further down the embankment. Sergeant Neal observed what appeared to be a partially burnt, blue in color, tarp. As he looked further down the embankment from the tarp, he observed a nude female lying on her back, grasping a small tree with her right hand. Sergeant Neal approached the female, immediately observing her to be obviously deceased, and identified her as Collier. Sergeant Neal observed Collier's remains to be apparently burned with what appeared to be charring to her abdomen. Sergeant Neal instructed Forrester to hold the immediate area while he returned to his patrol vehicle to make the appropriate calls for assistance and to establish a crime scene. Sergeant Neal returned to his patrol vehicle, established a crime scene using crime scene tape around the immediate area of the vehicle, and began a crime scene log at approximately 15:06 hours. At this time, Corporal Andra Townsend arrived on scene and took over maintenance of the crime scene log for the duration of this incident. Sergeant Neal contacted Habersham County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigations Division investigator George Cason and requested his response to the scene. Sergeant Neal also requested that the State Fire Marshal's Office agent Brian Smith be en route to the scene. A short time later, Cason, along with investigator Cale Garrison and crime scene technician Kayla Neal, arrived on scene. The scene was turned over to Cason, Garrison, and CST Neal. Sergeant Neal requested Next List Wrecker, RJ's Wrecker Service, to be en route to remove the vehicle. Upon completion of the initial investigation at the scene, Collier's remains were collected by Coroner Kenneth Franklin with assistance from Habersham County Fire and EMS personnel. RJ's Wrecker Service removed the vehicle, Sergeant Neal followed RJ's wrecker service from the scene to the Habersham County Sheriff's Office, where the vehicle was placed into evidence. Sergeant Neal returned to service. Get a drink before I start reading this. My voice is giving out on me. On 9/11/2022, at approximately 13:30 hours, Habersham County Dispatch placed the call to Deputy Forrester in reference to canine assist for a missing person. Deputy Forrester and Canine Zane were requested to respond to the area of Georgia 15 just south of Victory Home Lane, where a vehicle was located for a missing female from Athens, Clark County. Deputy Forrester responded and arrived on scene at approximately 14:20. Forrester was briefed by Sergeant Neal, advising that the female had been missing from Athens, Clark County, and they located the vehicle just prior to calling for canine. The female was described as an older female, late 50s, possibly 60s, and had back problems. Deputies on scene did a quick scan of the immediate woods, but did not push in. Nothing was in the vehicle, and there was no known clothing description nor direction of travel, if she was alone or if someone was with her. Deputy Forrester deployed his nationally certified tracking human odor canine Zane. He cast it around the driver's side door of the vehicle and pushed into the wood line on what appeared to be a logging road. They pushed in, casting for odor approximately 50 yards northeast, could not establish any track, then casted south-southeast. Zane was able to establish a track working south to southeast, away from Tallulah Gorge and away from Georgia 15. Zane tracked in that direction for approximately 1/4 of a mile. At around that distance mark, Deputy Forrester noticed a red bag through the brush. As they kept approaching the bag, he noticed a blue object that appeared to be a tarp. As they continued to approach, he noticed further down a hill, maybe 10 to 15 feet, a tan object that as he approached, he could tell was a human body. At that point, Deputy Forrester held what he had, visually clearing the area for any threats, and called for Sergeant Neal to come to his position. Sergeant Neal approached him and saw what Deputy Forrester saw, and approached the body to confirm it was female. Upon further visually inspecting the area, Deputy Forrester noticed it was in fact a female body, and then the rest of that paragraph is redacted. Sergeant Neal returned to his patrol vehicle to make his phone calls and obtain crime scene tape to establish a crime scene, while Deputy Forrester and Canine Zane held the scene. The scene was turned over to investigations upon their arrival. Deputy Forrester stayed on scene in case further assistance was needed. No further action from Forrester for the rest of the incident. And then finally, on 9/11/2022 at 15:02 hours, Corporal Townsend was instructed to respond to Georgia 15 near Victory Home Lane in reference to an active crime scene. Upon arrival, Townsend obtained the crime scene log and was responsible for maintaining the crime scene log by listing each person who entered and exited the crime scene. The crime scene log was turned over to Sergeant Neal when the crime scene was released. So there we have it. We are all caught up to, like I said, 11:36 a.m. on Friday. I checked for any updates right before I came on, and there was nothing new as of now. I will keep following this because I am just fascinated to see where this leads, and I'm very interested to get your thoughts on it. This is all speculation on my part, and I hope I'm wrong, but it seems like the family is involved. The husband, the daughter. Something just doesn't add up to me. I know sharing accounts isn't a huge thing, but when I couple the fact that the neighbors described them as reclusive and not really interacting with anybody, that people in the neighborhood didn't, some people in town didn't even know their names. They shared their social media accounts, they shared the Venmo account. Was he controlling? Was he trying to maybe monitor her communication and transactions to the daughter? Was that a source of tension between her and her husband, maybe, that she was giving money to the daughter? I don't know. And then the daughter moving there just 2 days prior to her disappearance, that could just be unfortunate timing, that she wanted to move to be closer to her mom, and then her mom was tragically taken from her. But the fact that they're not investigating it as a kidnapping is interesting, because obviously she didn't go out there herself, remove her clothes, and set herself on fire. That didn't happen. There's no way that happened. And where is her phone? They were trying to ping her phone, but they never said anything about where it was at. It wasn't mentioned that she took it with her. It wasn't mentioned that it was found in the vehicle. So where is her phone? That would be an important piece of information. And can we show, if she didn't have her phone, how did she make that Venmo transaction to her daughter? Where did that come from? Did somebody else do it? Somebody else that had access to the account? Because to my knowledge, the only other person that has access to it is her husband. There's just a lot of questions that need to be answered. And the drug thing, why do they think that this is drug related? This is before the autopsy. This is at the scene. They're filling out this report, and they already say it's drug related, but it's unknown what kind. That is interesting. So anyone with information on Collier's case is asked to contact Habersham Sheriff's Investigators Cale Garrison or George Cason at 706-839-0559 or 706-839-0560 respectively. And of course, I will have those numbers in the description box below. So let me know what you think about this case. What do you think could have possibly happened? How did she end up out there? What do you think the drug connection is? What do you think about the message that came with the Venmo transfer? Just talk to me about all of it. I can't wait to see your thoughts and just start chatting about it. I may try to do another video this afternoon, but I really want to dig into this one a little more and see if I can find out anything new. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for getting me to over 1,000 subscribers. I love you all so much. I hope you are having a fantastic Friday and that you have a wonderful weekend ahead. I can't say it enough. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. I'm overwhelmed. It means so much to me that you enjoy being here with the crazy dogs and the loud chicken and my crazy hair and all of that. So please give this video a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, do all the things. And as always, I will see you in the next one.